Today we have the pleasure to have with us Dan Amspacher, who is the Director of Strategic Initiatives at SEPTA. I'm not going to go into lots of detail, but Dan has extensive experience, over 40 years in pharma, in AstraZeneca, health operations and human resources. So he's extremely experienced in the field, 30, 40 years. He has a business degree at university. He received that at the University of Chicago. He will tell us lots about SEPTA, that it's not only a moving company, lots is going on with SEPTA. We also have the pleasure to have actually two speakers today, which is exceptional because usually we have only one. Tyler Ladd, who has received, he's also at SEPTA. He has received his, he has two masters, one in water resources and environmental engineering, and the other is in business. He's currently at SEPTA. He joined SEPTA in 2010. Correct. And he's also very active with hiking, with scuba diving. He's been in wild places all over the world. You can call him a very interesting man. Kilimanjaro, Everest, Antarctica. I was very impressed about his activities. Without further ado, I present you Dan Amspacher and Tyler Ladd. They will tell you all about the many activities at SEPTA. Thank you so much for here.
Good afternoon, everybody. This room's, or good morning. It's 11 o'clock. I'm on European time sometimes. It's from my AstraZeneca days. This room's small enough so we don't need to be mic'd up. We'll be glad to entertain questions. We are going to attempt to put 50 pounds of steam in a 2-pound bag over 45 minutes. So we have a lot of information. We're going to go back and forth between pieces. I'm going to handle science, technology, give you two good examples of what SEPTA is doing. My friend Tyler Ladd, who is a professional engineer, is going to talk about the engineering end of SEPTA, and then I'll finish up with arts and just a quick quip on mathematics. Math is everywhere and is involved in everything we do. This screen on the PowerPoint, the screen has some videos that I'm going to try to use during the time that we spend together. So we get this. So, I don't drive a bus. Tyler doesn't drive a bus. The number one question we get when we say we work for SEPTA is, what bus do you drive? Okay? SEPTA is a multimodal transportation entity. We are the 5th or 6th largest entity in the country, depending who you speak to. Some people go by ridership, some people go by vehicle size, number of vehicles in the fleet. But we move approximately 1 million people a day. And when you think about what we do, rough numbers, roughly 300 fixed routes, 2,700 vehicles, 13 heavy regional rail lines, trolley lines, subway lines, and 1 million people every 24 hours. Why aren't we on Action News every night with something going on? And it really goes back to our employees. Our employees are the people that keep us going. So, you may think you know us. But you don't. That's our control center, the nerve center for what we do. The project I want to talk a little bit about is our Crum Creek project. I'll tell you a little bit about the multi-pronged, faceted approach to handling Crum Creek. Crum Creek was a very bucolic area with a very old bridge. That span was built roughly in 1897 and still, up until several months ago, handled daily rail traffic. Just part of the tip of the iceberg of infrastructure issues in the United States right now. That's why you're seeing a lot of highway repair. That's why you're seeing a lot of building of bridges. There are over 300 bridges in the state of Pennsylvania. You can actually go online and look at the map. There are various levels of failure. Crum Creek had outlived its usefulness. So our group was given, SEPTA was given the daunting task of replacing Crum Creek in 12 weeks. We have an environmental policy signed by every senior leader in the organization. We want to make sure that we leave whatever projects we do, we anticipate any environmental issues, we consult, we make sure that any remediation efforts that are necessary are done. And we want to leave the place, any condition of post-construction better than when it was prior to construction. We want to leave everything and put it back in the way it's supposed to be. So every time we do a construction project, we have to take in a number of different accounts. Tom is going to talk about water and water runoff and environmental factors a little bit longer. Animal habitats and endangered species. Anybody think about that when you replace a bridge? And archaeological aspects of what we do. Let me see if I get this. So, so water runoff is something we all have to consider. Anytime we do anything, we have to make sure that that should hit the construction site. Water runoff is something we always look at. That should be a YouTube video. Yeah. Okay. I'm good. I can act it out. No, okay. In 3/4. So we're going to look at water runoff. So you're going to see things like this in major cities. This is what goes into our drinking water. So we have things like medical waste, agricultural runoff. These are all the things we have to consider anytime we change topographical environment of any kind of environment we impact. So gasoline running into an oil, used motor oil running into a drain is not going to be very beneficial to the public. It's not going to be very beneficial to the environment. It's not going to help future generations as far as environmental safety is concerned. So we've started to adopt a number of green principles. This is 69th Street. That's prior construction. A lot of metal roofing, old buildings. This is post-construction. Green roof. Okay, we were able to put a green roof into place, and we're using and adapting green roofs in a number of the projects that we do. So we are using them to control water flow, and also to help clean water, and make sure that the water runoff is limited. That's an easy example of what a green roof and how you put it together. There are a number of buildings in the 5-county area that a green roof can work on. In Philadelphia alone, there are, I think it was something like 50,000 houses. Think about all the row homes. And the insulation factors that went into that construction post-World War I. Flat roofs, not a lot of insulation. Green roofs are a technology that can actually help cut down energy bills. And there are actually federal grants that are going on right now in Philadelphia to add green roofs to a number of places with new construction. There's a lot of gentrification going on in Fishtown and Port Richmond. And a lot of millennials are moving into Philadelphia, into old established neighborhoods. A lot of green roofs are getting put up. We are trying to use green roofs in as many structures as possible where it's functionally capable. And it's something we continue to consider because of the environment. We want to lessen the environmental impact of our former property post-construction. Rain gardens. You're going to see a number of spots in our bus loops and our other locations that contain rain gardens. So this is going to trap water, keep water runoff to a minimum, and also keep runoff and any chemicals to a minimum. Everybody loves turtles. There's nobody here, I think, that can say anything wrong about turtles. If you've had turtle soup, it really isn't turtles. It's different fish now. But in the old days it was. We had to consider the breeding grounds and the migratory patterns of the red speckled turtle when we did Crum Creek. We had to have environmentalists come in and make sure that our construction did not impact their breeding grounds or their migratory paths. Brought people in, they did the environmental study. We had to make sure that we were living within the boundaries of their habitat, yet at the same time get our work done. And then last, archaeology. Now this is a dangerous slide. And I put this up I'm speaking to the students now. Although there are amateur archaeologists here in the room who might be professors. And I'm speaking directly to Delaware County. 184 square miles, 142 archaeological sites. So anytime we do construction, we have to bring in archaeologists. They do portional digs to check out the site, to see if there are any historical artifacts in that area. We want to make sure that if there are, we're going to be able to capture those, possibly preserve them, or display them in a museum. Many of you know about the story about Independence Hall. When they did the Independence Mall, they found the first president's house. And they did a dig 50 feet away from the new building the Liberty Bell was in. They found the foundations. That is now a historical site. You can actually go and see it. You can see the foundations. You can see the former rooms that were put in. And that area was not developed. It's been left pristine, back to the original, almost original condition. So every time I talk about Delaware County, and I talk about 142 archaeology sites and 184 square miles, I always see somebody's eyes light up, particularly students. So I'm begging you, please do not do this, okay? I do not want people going out buying metal detectors and going into creeks or going around grounds and finding cannonballs, mini balls, revolutionary metal. It's out there, and you can find it almost anywhere. It's a nice hobby for people, but this is not the best use of your time to go underwater and pull cannonballs out. My daughter is an anthropology archaeology major. She's actually now museum study, getting her master's in museum studies. And she worked at an archaeological site in Pennsylvania, not far outside Philadelphia. She came home one day. And at the age of 20, she was actually the site manager. She was directing people who were getting their PhDs. And they had a dig site, 20 different spots. And I'm not going to give you the location because I want to tell you the story. So she came home. She was living near the campus where they were working. She came home one weekend. I said, how was it? She goes, we had a really cool find. I said, what'd you find? She said, we found 6 revolutionary coins. I said, wow, that's really neat. I said, yeah, we have 20 different dig sites on this one property. And we went down about 7, 8 inches. And all of a sudden we found the metal detector went off and we found these colonial coins. I said, neat. What do they worth? She said, about $20,000 each. I said, that's great. Did you bring any home? She said, Dad, I'm an archaeologist. I'm not allowed to take things from the site. I can't bring things home. So I was a little disappointed because I figured I could pay her for a master's degree. But there is stuff out there, and we have to bring people in because we don't know where Indian or Native American villages might be, where different major farm areas. The number of Revolutionary War battle areas in the region, the number of Civil War battle areas in the region, it all impacts Delaware County. And Delaware County is a very, very fertile geographic area. So we get all this done, and we look to try to finish the project off. And I wanted to show you a video because we did this in 12 weeks. We actually built parallel to the original bridge, the new bridge. And then over a 48-hour period, we slid the new bridge into position. And if you go on YouTube and look up Crum Creek and SEPTA, because I can't get the PowerPoint to go, it will show you in high-speed motion the construction and the bridge sliding over and matching up almost perfectly. 12 weeks. We had to keep the trains running the entire time. The only time we shut down was over the weekend when we moved the bridge. So the old tracks came out, new tracks came in. We had to be reliable. People were riding that, depending on us. That's the biggest thing at SEPTA. 1 million people a day depend on us to get them to their destination. Next thing I just want to touch base on is technology. So I like Steve Jobs. I use a lot of quotes from people. He said technology is nothing. What's important is that you have faith in people, that they're basically good and smart, and if you give them the tools, they'll do wonderful things with them. We have a new piece of technology that's been rolled out now, and it's going to take us some time to get acclimated to. So, if you look at our rail path and the trolley path in Delaware, the routes, there's a lot of different pieces there. This was up until recently, this was our basic method of payment. Tokens, money, and passes. 1 million people a day, estimated. But where are they going, what are they taking, and what time of day are they riding? We have numerous routes, all cash tokens and fare cards. Separate fare boxes, multiple revenue streams. How are we able to capture our customer flow? That's when we get with the SEPTA key. SEPTA key is a fare instrument that's loadable. It is a one-stop shop for a number of people to use while they ride the system. And eventually, it will be on all modes of transportation. Rail's taking a little bit of time to work out. There's also some other pieces we're trying to work out with it. just like any other system you implement, especially because we're multi-mode. So we have the rail, we have the subway. We're not just trying to roll this out on the subway. We're doing buses, trolleys, and regional rail, and all the service routes. Simply by going in and using that and tapping, we're able to get an electronic record of a fare when somebody spends money to go ride. And by the way, the fare's $250. What can you buy for $250 these days? You can get a candy bar. You can't get a power bar. They're about $2.99, up to $5 in Wawa. But this is for a loadable fare instrument, $250. You're still keeping the price at $250. And seniors ride for free. We have new ID cards with their pictures on them. So people who are seniors can ride for free. So advantages, it's an electronic transaction. It gives us a permanent record. Somebody drops a token in, it's not a permanent record. The token goes in. We don't know who the token went in by. We don't know what time of day it went in. All we know is when we empty the box, it's there. The single fare instrument, we can get there. We may never get there because there's always going to be people who have to use money. There are going to be people who are unbanked, do not have banking accounts. We're trying to work through that situation now. The fares are calculated automatically, though. So we know automatically when you switch modes, when you transfer, we don't charge you $250 twice. Trips by type, trips by individual. Seniors have their own cards, and we have special and federal programs. People with disabilities, they have their own cards. So it provides answers. How many people are really riding? We'll estimate 1 million people a day, but I can't guarantee you it's 1 million people a day. And what routes are they riding? And what time of day? Where are they going? And where are they going? We had a conversation real quick this morning about this campus and the possibility of a connection to your other campuses. There's evidently a bus from 69th Street that comes here, but does not interconnect between the campuses. It's a great idea. Some of the best ideas we've ever had have been introduced by frontline people, bus operators and customers. So I'm going to go back with that today. Our challenges? Change. People hate change. People in Philadelphia and the Philadelphia surrounding regions hate change. We are not quick adapters. This is not New York. We like things the way they were. Okay? The Phillies put a broken Liberty Bell on their baseball cap, and everybody went crazy. It was in spring training. I didn't like it. It took a little while for people to get used to Gritty. He is now the #1 mascot in the NHL. And for those of you who follow Twitter, go watch the cheesesteak video from the other day. It was National Cheesesteak Day. Gritty is from the same company that produced the Philly Fanatic. Dave, who's a graduate of the University of Delaware, created Gritty. He has the same characteristics, same antics. He's going to be phenomenal, and he's going to continue to add things to what we do. So, adaptability by consumer, availability. Right now you can only get it from us. You can't get it from everywhere, but it's going to change. Adoption of different modes. Rail is the big one because we've got tariffs by zone, and that's been a little bit tricky. And then ensuring cybersecurity. So a key card is essentially a debit card. It's money. So every electronic transaction has to be protected. SEPTA had to fulfill the requirements of a major financial institution. We had to up our financial regimen, and we established and expanded our cybersecurity division. So now we have real-time threats. The gentleman who's one of the head people in cybersecurity, I was able to recruit away from NORAD. And for those of you who don't know what NORAD is, it's the military's North American command for cybersecurity and everything else. Has one of the dry senses of humor I've ever met. And I asked him, what do we hit, 2 or 3 hits a day? And he kind of smiled and said, Dan, if I told you, I'd terrify you. And every time I have a conversation with him, I don't want to use my card in an ATM machine because it's like playing Russian roulette. You're just spinning the dial waiting for somebody to try to pick your numbers. So, our end game. Who are our customers and where are they going? Just think about this. If we can track and get a real-time footprint of everybody who rides the system, we can do a number of things. We can shift fleet. We can repurpose buses. We can repurpose trolleys. We can look at headway, which is the time between cars, time between the time the bus comes in, right? We can find out if there are certain routes that have been in existence since the 70s that are running empty or 5 passengers. Now, I'm not saying we're going to eliminate that bus, but we're going to find out the reasons why there's so few riders. And hopefully it's going to provide more competent and convenient service. Because when we went out and surveyed our customers, the number one thing that came out from everybody was, we want SEPTA to be more convenient. And we're working towards it. We want to be able to be convenient. Information makes things more convenient. So that's technology at SEPTA. I'm going to turn it over to Tyler, who's got a lot of information on engineering. And then I'll wrap it up with arts and a little bit about mathematics.
Thank you, Dan. If you can't hear me in the back, just move closer. I've been a practicing engineer for about 15 years now, so I was happy I got the E in this presentation. Made a lot more sense. So at SEPTA, we have an entire division called EM&C, which stands for Engineering, Maintenance, and Construction. We focus primarily on the infrastructure side. And engineering is the key component of that entire piece. As Dan said, we're here to keep trains moving passengers. We really can't do that without our engineering support and engineering staff. So at SEPTA, we're broken into 5 main engineering kind of entities, just because what we do is so vast. I'll show you some examples in a minute. So those 5 groups are, I lost one already. If anyone else wants to leave, you're not going to want to leave. So we're broken down bridges and buildings. They handle bridges and buildings. All of our facilities and any of our main bridges and other structures out on our system. We have a civil engineering group, which handles design and coordination. They handle all of our site layouts, stormwater management. Communications and signals. The power department, of which I am an engineering manager, and then we have a track department. So going a little deeper dive into what the individual departments are responsible for. So this is an example, sorry for everyone on this side, if you can see that far. For our Bridges and Buildings Department, they house, we have a very large, probably 6 to 8 architects. They house our architecture staff. They also have a construction management group, so they're responsible for building a lot of the work that either our consultants design for us or that we design in-house. Facilities management, like I said, we have a lot of buildings, a lot of shops, a lot of depots that have their own facilities. They're essentially their own workshops, plus all of our stations, all of our elevators and escalators. Those all fall under the Bridges and Buildings Department. Our mechanical engineering group and also our structural engineering group all reside within our Bridges and Buildings Department. Under our stormwater, our civil group, like I said, they handle site layout. So whenever we're designing a new station or retrofitting an existing property, our civil engineers really come in and re-lay out the property to make the best use of space. They handle all of our stormwater management on the system, which is a big deal. As Dan mentioned before, stormwater management is a huge issue, not just for SEPTA, but for the entire region. So our civil engineers really lead the front in dealing with those issues. Third-party coordination. Because we're such a vast organization, we have people, companies, other entities that want to do work on our property or adjacent to our property. And all that work needs to be coordinated to make sure that they're not impacting service, they can still get their work done, and it's all done in a safe manner. So all that really goes to our civil group. And lastly, survey. Survey control. We essentially have our own survey crew, and we have to go out and lay out benchmarks, stake out property lines. We can do a lot of those tasks in-house. Our communications and signals group, they're responsible for our entire fiber optic network. We have a completely independent fiber optic network that runs through all of our outlying locations, all of our stations, all of our yards, and they really manage and oversee that. They're also responsible for all the communication systems in all the equipment themselves when trains get the proper signals so they can proceed in a safe manner. All that's handled by our communications and signals group. If anyone's been at a passenger station, they handle all of our audio and visual announcements, all our display boards, equipment testing, and then again, third-party support all falls under our communications and signals group. Our power department, if anyone's ever ridden on a train, ridden on a trolley, ridden the subway downtown, they all need power to operate. That's what the power department is, my department. We're responsible for getting all the power, medium and low voltage, out to our facilities, out to our equipment. We're responsible for all of our lighting at our stations. We're responsible for all of our overhead wires, our underground facilities. Something a lot of people don't know in the city, back a long time ago, so Dan probably used it. We had trolley routes on pretty much every city street, and we still have a lot of those facilities in the ground now, where even though we're not actually running service, we still have active high voltage cables in the ground. So it's something that whenever the city is digging up the street, or repaving, or putting in an ADA accessible crosswalk, they need to coordinate with us to make sure that work can be done in a safe manner. Also, our power usage. We're PECO's largest customer for the entire region, because everything we do requires power. So if we lose PECO, we're pretty much shut down. And then also, something that kind of gets lost in shuffle sometimes are our sustainability initiatives. We really spend a lot of time and a lot of effort looking to see, is there a better way of doing something? Are there greener technologies that we can be incorporating, whether it's solar or wind? We're doing a lot with regenerative braking, where we're capturing energy from braking trains and putting it back out onto the system. So yes is bottom line for SEPTA, which is then good. We pass on to our riders, but it's really the right thing to do. As an engineer, it's our responsibility to look out for the environment and do what's best. So it's nice that we have that opportunity, and we have engineers specifically focused on those responsibilities. And then lastly, of the main engineering groups, our track department. So much math. That's why I don't do it. But pretty much any of the track that's out there, all the design work, all the renewal, all the rehab, all that has to be designed to very, very strict tolerances. There are federal requirements, especially on the railroad, that they have to meet. So our track engineers really spend a lot of time and effort making sure that everything's in compliance and everything's done properly. Another big one up here is right-of-way and vegetative maintenance. Most of our facilities, again, out on the railroad and tri lines, the 100, the 101, the 102 tri lines to Sharon Hill. In most cases, they're vegetated right-of-ways. So we have a continuous problem with trees coming down, getting into wires, impacting service. Like in the winter when we've had some of these ice storms, if you see trees just out when you're driving with the ice in the branches blocking the roads, we deal with that on almost a daily basis. So in the winter we have crews that pretty much just go around knocking ice or cutting down branches, just so we can maintain some level of service. So this is just a short list of a lot of the different types of engineers that we employ here. We're not going to read them all to you. It's fine. But what's really great about SEPTA and engineering is there's a place for everyone. We do so much, so many different things, so many varied disciplines, that we have engineers of all these types on staff, which is great. So getting into some of our roles and responsibilities, it's really just a lot of pointing at things and then other people doing work. It's actually pretty sweet. That's me if you can't see over here. Not a great photo, but so I had one where my beard was like yay long, but I didn't think that would be appropriate. So what do? We're project designers, like I talked about. We're technical resources. As I said, we fall under engineering, maintenance, and construction. So our engineering staff really a technical resource for our construction and maintenance forces to make sure that we're answering questions, we're solving problems that they have, and we're really just being an asset to the organization. So I'm going to go through a couple examples of projects here, just some of the varied things that we do and that we're responsible for. So one of the things our structural inspectors and our structural engineers really get involved in are bridge inspections. The photo on the left is actually the Concrete Bridge that Dan mentioned before, back when they had to do, and they still do in the new bridge, a hands-on inspection periodically. Again, it's federally mandated. So in a lot of cases, they're going to places that are not accessible by equipment, so they have to physically climb it themselves. I keep volunteering to go. They never let me, probably because they know they won't get me off of it. So then sometimes, that's a concrete bridge on the left. On the right, that's our viaduct out in Norristown. If anyone's taking the Norristown high-speed line from NTC back in toward the city, this is the first bridge that you cross over the Schuylkill River. So it's, again, this one was more conducive to using equipment, but it's the same process. And we have hundreds of bridges across the entire system that have to be inspected and maintained on a regular basis. This photo is not as dark on this screen, so, but again, this is the concrete bridge that Dan mentioned. Okay, on the left-hand side is the original bridge built in the late 1800s. On the right-hand side is the new precast concrete bridge that was built. As Dan said, it was built adjacent to the old bridge, so we can maintain service. And then under a scheduled outage where we had to suspend service, they demolished the existing bridge and slid the new bridge in. And like Dan mentioned, you can check it out on YouTube. They actually did time lapse of it. So I mean, it went super quick, but phenomenal to see just from an engineering standpoint. Wow, here is a unique solution to a very specific problem. Because normally, yeah, just like PennDOT or the city, just take the bridge out. Yeah, kill it for a year and a half. People can go around. We don't really have that luxury. So this is, we had a retaining wall failure. If anyone's taken the regional rail from 30th Street Station to a University City Station, this is the wall on the right-hand side by University of Medical. Yeah. Retaining wall failed. Okay, until that was cleaned up, a new wall was designed and built. You can't run trains through there. There's too much risk. That completely cuts off the entire south side of our system, going down the Yellow line, the airport line, out of service until this problem was resolved. They did quickly. Facilities engineering, like I talked about, all of our facilities have generators, have boilers, have mechanical rooms, elevators, escalators, just massive the amount of facilities that we have that our mechanical engineers are actively involved in, whether it's designing new equipment to replace old, outdated, or working with our maintenance forces to maintain the equipment that we do that. Tunnel construction. This is Malvern Station on the regional rail line, the Haley-Thorndale line. And bore a new pedestrian tunnel through a railroad embankment while you had 4 tracks of Amtrak territory, active high-speed rail above it. How do you do that? Very carefully and slowly, but there is a way. If anyone's ever been out there, you'll see what I'm talking about. It's my home station. Culvert replacement. If anyone needs some stormwater around. Down at the bottom, we've got a creek. You can't really dam that and reroute it. It has to keep flowing. So you've got a creek below us. You've got an active in the upper left-hand corner, 2-track rail territory. So again, like we talked about, this was done in probably a 3-day weekend, probably either Memorial Day or Labor Day, where the precast concrete panels were on tractor trailers, ready to go. After last train on Friday night, we would cut rail, remove the sections, dig it all out. The footers in the stream bank or down below would have already been installed ahead of time, and then the crane just came in and set the sections, fill it back in, put the track panels back in, weld it back up, and we're back up running service probably Tuesday morning. We've done this here. This is on our main line going up toward Jenkintown. We've also done something similar up near Delaware Valley College, up on the Lansdowne-Doylestown line. That was another 3-day. So it's great because usually the white hard hats are engineering. They're usually pretty clean. but they were actively involved in designing the new culvert, being on site, making sure that it was installed properly, and giving the okay to return to service. Stormwater management. Upper left corner is a Spring Mill station from the Norristown line. Can't really see it much here, but if you want to see it later, Jersey barriers underwater. That's how high the Schuylkill River came up. This station was completely inaccessible, and if Spring Mill's inaccessible, Conshohocken, Norristown, Elm Street, Main Street, completely off limits. The bottom left-hand photo, that's between Conshohocken and Spring Mill. If anyone's ever been that way. Everyone in those apartment buildings along the river couldn't get out, couldn't go to work until the water subsided. Rail's usually the low point. We have swales on either side. That's where the water was accumulating because everything slopes down to us. Until that water receded, they were just stuck taking photos. And on the right-hand side, so this is what we do. This is some of the solutions that we've come up with, where to mitigate this stormwater, we're actually starting to raise our equipment, okay? This is along the Schuylkill River, so we're starting to put things at least 5 or 6 feet. We'll calculate where flood elevation is in worst case event, and then we'll put our equipment above it. So if you're ever looking out the window and you see something up really high, and you're like, that seems like a pain in the ass to get to. It is, and there's a reason for it. Sinkhole remediation. This is Bryn Mawr parking lot. Everyone's familiar with the King of Prussia area. You might have heard it's a karst topography, which means there's a lot of limestone. Groundwater infiltrates, it dissolves the limestone, creating pockets and voids, and causing sinkholes when the ground caves in above. This happened in Bryn Mawr. So the only way to solve it was to excavate out, fill the void, relay the pipes that happened to fail during the collapse, and put the parking lot back together. And the whole time this is happening, we're impacting customers. Okay, our parking lots, they're not big enough anyway to take out probably half or 3/4 of it while we fix this over a week or two span. It's not a luxury we have, so, but sometimes you have to do it. Overhead wire replacement, bottom left, that's a piece of our work equipment. It allows the crews to get up at wire level, up height, 25, 26 feet in the air, and replace all wires. And then we've got a smaller piece of equipment over on the right-hand side. The biggest thing for us is speed. If we have a problem that's impacting service, how quickly can we repair it and get it back in service, and then come back at night with the right equipment and put it all back together, or replace something that needs to be replaced. Substation construction, we're essentially a utility. The amount of power we use is just bananas. So a lot of our equipment is, again, like David said, from late 1800s, early 1900s. We actually have to fabricate a lot of parts from scratch by hand because it's no longer made. It's probably older than we got. So we're really going through now and we're overhauling a lot of our equipment, getting new state-of-the-art modern equipment. So with that comes reliability and redundancy. Track construction, this is Market Frank Riddell. Anyone's taking it from 69th Street going back into the city. Having to replace track and elevated structure, reflooding with our workforces. Okay, this was probably a weekend outage. We had to replace quite a bit of track. How many people can we fit in there and how fast can we get it done? Same thing, track renewal. This is a street. This is out in West Philly, right there. Same thing. This is going to be a little bit longer. This is set in concrete. So to dig it all out, to lay the new track where it's supposed to be, pour it, let it set before we can open it up for traffic. This is going to screw some people, but it has to be done. Emergency response, you one of our stations, water coming down the tunnels. We try to prevent it. Things catch on fire, not great. And trees fall down, like I said, they were vegetated right away. So whatever we can do for all of that not to happen, we really try to make it do. And then last two, long-range planning. Everyone thinks, oh yeah, we just sit at a computer and draw stuff. We already have. I've been in meetings. We've got 5, 10, 15. We're thinking 20 years out for a lot of our projects. So King of Prussia Rail Extension, if anyone's familiar with that, kingofprussiarail.com, something like that. Check it out. It's really cool. Haley Transportation Center down the city, a new station out of Villanova. These are all massive projects that require a ton of money, but a lot of planning. But in the end, they're good for our riders, they're good for the communities that they're in. And then lastly, station reconstruction. If anyone ever has been out to Ardmore Avenue Station on the Northtown High Speed Line, it's right next to Marion Golf Course, where the US Open was in 2015. This station, from design to construction, was less than 2 years. Once the golf course got determined. We increased parking, landscaping, there's stormwater features, new lighting, ADA accessible, complete overhaul of the station, completely built in-house. So if anyone has ever been out there, check it out. I'm actually the engineer of record on this. I signed and sealed these drawings myself, so I'm kind of proud of it. All right, that's all I got.
Thank you, Tyler. I remember that shot you took at me. Yeah.
Surprised to hear a little bit.
Yes. So, we've got a couple of minutes left, and I want to get through this as quickly as possible. Not that it doesn't deserve attention. Where are my artists in the room? Cool. All right. So, we have a number of public spaces, and they just don't have to be bare and utilitarian. We want to be able to make open public spaces beautiful. So, not only do we have construction pieces, Martin Transit, 13 installations on the Market Frankfurt L, 3 on the Broad Street line, 2 on the regional rail, and 2 installations on the bus stop, we have SEPTA Music and Moves. The program just started. If you go on and look at our website, live music, buskers, Philadelphia Orchestra, everything from a middle school play, choral group, all the way through members of the Philadelphia Orchestra playing during rush hour, in the morning or in the evening. So, some examples. 52nd Street, Market Frankfurt L. Different pieces of artwork. This is 60th Street. This is the floor on the Broad Street line at Spring Garden. Can't see this row well because of it. This is one of 2 of the stairwells on 2 different stops on the Broad Street line. All stained glass and all done by commissioned artists. This is Suburban Suburban Station at night. It's an open courtyard with flames. And this is a rock sculpture that is up at the Northtown Transportation Center. This is an installation out in West Philadelphia that an artist came up with. I think it's really neat. It is flowers and flower petals, and it actually covers a quarter of the block. It beautified the neighborhood. And again, 63rd Street. Number of different pieces celebrating children and decorating from the entranceway all the way up through the steps to the platform area. We're also doing a number of things in the Concourse underground Philadelphia. If you were ever down there, it was a dark, scary place. Concrete floors, really ugly ceilings and ugly walls. This is actually reality right now. That was an artist's drawing. This is right before 15th Street. Right, if you went this way, you walk into Macy's lower level, which used to be the Wanamaker building. It goes SEPTA, Philadelphia from the past to present. Ben Franklin's in there, a number of other famous Philadelphians. This is an example of a finished concourse. South Penn Square, new tile, new flooring, better lighting, and actually music. On the left-hand side, you see a little bit of purple lights. There's actually a lit sculpture that moves as you move by it, and the lights change. This is the Oculus, famous for being right next to the clothespin down in Center City. That was a dump before we fixed it up. It was a place where skateboarders went, and a lot of concrete, very, very open, ugly space. And we turned it and changed it into a kinetic sculpture with lights, and also actually ADA access. Last thing I want to leave you with is mathematics. One of my favorite lines. 2 things are infinite: the human and human stupidity. And I'm not sure. I'm sorry, the universe and human stupidity. And I'm not sure about the universe. And the greatest mathematicians, as Archimedes, Newton, and Gauss, always united theory applications in equal measure. Pop quiz. This is for the students to read.
If an electric train is traveling at 50 miles an hour into a 30-mile headwind, which direction does the smoke from the exhaust engine blow? See, I got professors in the room. Right, it's electric. There is no exhaust. Okay? Everything we do involves math and algorithms. Teddy Roosevelt, a thorough knowledge of algorithm is worth more than a college education. Algorithms can predict amazing things. They can predict scary things. We have an actuary who actually works with me at SEPTA. He looks at our workforce. He looks at the years we were born. He looks at our health and all these other pieces. He boils it down into big data, and he can literally tell you roughly when you're going to die. Now, I don't talk to him about that, but I know that if he worked an algorithm out on me, he'd probably be pretty efficient at it. The big thing that worries about me, though, is the current choice for problem-solving algorithm is commonly used nowadays for a set of rules. A machine, especially a computer, follows to achieve a particular goal. We are doing studies now using algorithms. We're crunching big data. We're looking at moving transportation around. We're looking at how we can be more efficient with our schedule. We're looking at the small windows we have in our train schedules, because we share our tracks with CSX and Amtrak. They're Amtrak's tracks. It's not like a plane when we're circling the airport and somebody can just pull in line. Okay? If we miss our window, and that's why schedules are so tight, we miss our window, we're 20 minutes off. We throw everybody out of whack. Anybody here has been on a SEPTA train and pulled into a siding and the Amtrak train goes flying by? That's because the Amtrak train's off schedule and they have priority rights. They can make us pull over. It's their track. Optimization and public transportation fit well together. This was a German study. I know, because I'm German. And as they looked at efficiencies, and they were able to do a number of things with software to move fleets and improve delivery of services. And that's a little bit about it. You can see that if you want to. But this is my big thing. It wouldn't make forests very happy. Because no matter how much technology we put into transportation, it's still about people. It's about conversations. It's about people interaction. Our bus operators, and there are 6,000 of them, the most important part of their job, 20% is operating the vehicle. 80% of their job is customer service. If you cannot interact with individuals, you can't work for SEPTA. That's what I tell everybody. Last thing I'll throw out is, as our sponsor told us, this is not a recruitment presentation for SEPTA, but we do have a career site on our career homepage, so feel free to check it out. A lot of this information is available on the SEPTA website. So we're doing a lot of cool things. Your tax dollars are being spent on a number of capital projects. You can actually go in and see those. We're transparent. We put our 10-year, 5-year, 7-year strategic and capital plans out there for everybody to look at. So we want to continue to be a prime source of transportation options. And what we're seeing with the millennials is we are their primary choice. Uber and Lyft are incidental usage. And in Philadelphia Center City especially, with the tight colonial grid that William Penn designed, we are one of the few cities where Uber and Lyft do not have an advantage, simply because it's one more car into a congested street that only can absorb so much traffic. So we have seen an uptick in ridership. Our rail transportation over the last 8 years, up 50%. Wow. Bus leveled out, dropped a little. We're looking at that now, and that's what the redesign of the bus system was. But there's also the neighborhood considerations. So if you know Philadelphia and you know traditions, former general manager was with me at the Greater Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce. He got asked a question. I noticed you run 2 buses parallel to each other, a block and a half apart in Center City. Why don't you just eliminate that one bus and just run one and everybody walk over 2 blocks? He said, the first phone call I'm going to get is from the block captain, and then it's going to go up the chain. Nobody likes change. But we're going to figure out the best configuration we can. You're going to see changes in the future, and I thank you all for your attention today.
last, thank you both for coming. I apologize if, because we're off time, if you have any questions, you can approach the presenters and
Yeah,
ask them.
we're staying around if anyone has questions.
At this point, I want to present Dan with a certificate of appreciation from STEM Department Division.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Ron,
For adding, so we can save a few $100. And also Tyler, the same thing.